There is a secret that the ancients knew, one that our modern era has brutally strived to forget. The secret is this: your greatest treasure, the key to your most authentic strength, and the cure for your deepest pain is not hidden in the light, but locked away in the darkest basement of your mind. It is protected by your most irrational fear, your most secret shame, the creature you see in your worst nightmares. Carl Jung called this creature the shadow, and the quest for this treasure, integration. Think of your most recurrent nightmare, the one where you are being chased, where your teeth fall out, where you scream and no sound comes out. Our primary reaction is to run, to wake up sweating, and to try to forget. But what if I told you that this monster chasing you doesn't want to destroy you? What if it were, in fact, running towards you to deliver a gift, a fragment of power, of creativity, of vitality that you yourself exiled long ago because you believed it was unacceptable? The gold is in the darkness, and your dreams are the map that leads to it. This is not a journey for the faint of heart, and this is not just another channel. What we are about to do here is dangerous. It is a vertical dive into the depths of your being. If you are only seeking fleeting entertainment or easy answers, this place is not for you. But if you are tired of living a life on the surface, if you feel the call of something greater within you and have the courage to face what you will find in the dark, then you have found your harbor. Make your choice now. Clicking away from this video is deciding to remain where you are. Subscribing to this channel is your first conscious step on the most important journey of your life, the journey back to yourself. Turn on notifications, because each video will be a new tool for your expedition. Like the video as a sign that you accept the call. And comment "I accept the journey" to seal your commitment, not with me, but with your own soul. The door is open. Will you step inside, or will you remain outside, just peeking through the keyhole? Imagine your consciousness as a small, illuminated island in the middle of a vast, dark, and infinite ocean. This island is where you live your daily life, your certainties, your logic, your social identity, your persona. You decorate this island, build sandcastles of ambitions and certainties, and convince yourself that this small patch of land is all that exists. However, the ocean, your unconscious, is alive. It is ancient, powerful, and holds 99% of your true being. It contains all ancestral memories, primordial instincts, unlived potentials, and forgotten wounds. And this ocean is not silent. During the day, your conscious mind, with its noise and arrogance, drowns out its whispers. But at night, when the sun of logic sets, the ocean surges onto the shores of your consciousness. Dreams are the tides of the unconscious. They are not random events. They are a biological and psychological function as vital as breathing, the function of psychic self-regulation. Your psyche, like your body, relentlessly seeks balance, homeostasis. If during the day you live in an excessively rational way, your dreams will bring the illogical and the magical. If you repress your anger, your dreams will bring you images of fury and destruction. If you refuse to face your sadness, your dreams will drown you in oceans of melancholy. They are the immune system of your soul, pointing to the exact site of the infection, to the imbalance that, if left untreated, will manifest as neurosis, anxiety, depression, or a paralyzing sense of meaninglessness in your waking life. The call of the unconscious is, therefore, a matter of psychic survival. Ignoring your dreams is not a neutral option. It is to actively choose fragmentation. It is to allow the island of your consciousness to become ever smaller, more arid, and more besieged by the tides you refuse to understand. The urgency of the messages contained in your dreams is proportional to the degree of disconnection you have from yourself. A terrifying nightmare is not an attack. It is a cry for help from a part of you that is dying in exile. It is a desperate call for integration, for you to stop looking at the horizon and finally have the courage to dive into the dark waters that are, in truth, your very origin and your destiny. Answering this call is the first act of true personal sovereignty. If dreams are letters sent by your deepest self, then the dream journal is the sacred mailbox you install on the border between worlds. Without it, the letters are carried away by the wind of forgetfulness, leaving only a vague sense of loss. This act of recording dreams transcends mere organization. It is a ritual of profound symbolic meaning. By placing a notebook and a pen next to your bed, you are making a declaration of intent to your unconscious. You are saying, I am ready to listen. Your voice matters. Your wisdom is welcome. This simple action creates an energetic bridge, and you will be astonished to see how, from this decision, your dreams become more vivid, more memorable, as if the unconscious finally feels. It is worthwhile to communicate with a partner who is willing to listen. The process of writing is crucial. Writing by hand, especially, activates different areas of the brain compared to typing. The physical act of tracing the letters anchors the ethereal experience of the dream. In the material plane, it is a form of incarnating the message. The practice must be immediate and free of censorship. Upon waking, move as little as possible. Remain in the position the dream left you in. The physical body retains the emotional hangover of the dream. Before trying to remember the narrative, ask yourself, what is the feeling that remained? Write down this primary emotion: fear, joy, confusion, peace. The emotion is the color with which the dream was painted. It is the tonal key of the entire message. Only then, begin to describe the images, the settings, the characters. Write in the present tense, I am walking through a dark forest, to stay within the dream's energy. Do not analyze. Do not interpret. Just record like a faithful scribe. Be brutally honest. If you did something shameful in the dream, write it down. If you felt something your daytime morality condemns, write it down. The journal is a judgment-free space, a confessional for your total soul, not just for your socially acceptable facade. Over time, this journal will become your most sacred text. It will reveal your patterns, your personal myths, your recurring symbols. It will be a mirror that reflects not your face, but the architecture of your psyche. It will show you that, behind the apparent chaos, there is an ordering intelligence, an internal compass guiding your journey of individuation. Neglecting the journal is like going on a date with the divine and bringing nothing to write down its revelations. It is an act of disrespect towards the mystery that dwells within you. To enter the world of dreams is to learn a new language, and its grammar is composed of symbols. However, the most common and dangerous mistake is to believe in dream dictionaries that offer fixed interpretations. Dreaming of a snake does not universally mean betrayal or healing. The symbol is a living entity, and its meaning is a confluence of two great currents, the personal and the collective. Understanding this distinction is the master key to authentic interpretation. The personal symbol is rooted in your unique biography, in your experiences and memories. The image of a house, for example, may be a universal symbol of the psyche, but your dream house might be a replica of your grandmother's house, laden with all the specific emotions, traumas, and joys of that place and that relationship. To decipher the personal aspect, you must ask yourself, what does this image mean to me? What is my first memory or feeling associated with it? This layer of meaning is non-transferable and belongs solely to you. To ignore it is like trying to read a love letter in a foreign language using only a dictionary, losing all the nuance and intimacy of the message. On the other hand, the collective symbol transcends your personal experience. It belongs to the collective, unconscious, the reservoir of archetypal human experiences shared by all of us, regardless of culture or time. The Great Mother, the wise old man, the serpent, the world tree, these are primordial images that echo in myths, religions, and fairy tales across the planet. When a serpent appears in your dream, it is not just the reptile you saw at the zoo. It carries in its symbolic DNA millennia of human associations with healing. The caduceus of Hermes, temptation the Garden of Eden, renewal the shedding of skin, and chthonic wisdom earth. Deities, the true art of Jungian interpretation, lies in the ability to hold these two lenses in focus simultaneously. You must ask how your personal unconscious is using a great collective symbol to express a specific issue in your life. Perhaps the serpent in your dream represents the healing energy, collective. You need to deal with a friend's betrayal, personal. The interpretation becomes a dynamic dialogue between your small story and the great story of humanity. It is at this intersection that the symbol reveals its transformative power, connecting your personal drama to the universal drama of the soul. Once we distinguish between the personal and the collective, we need a method to explore the vastness of a symbol without getting lost. This method is amplification, Jung's primary tool for dream investigation. and it stands in direct opposition to Freud's free association. Free association works like a chain. One symbol leads to a thought, which leads to a memory, which leads to another, moving further and further away from the original dream image. Jung argued that this leads us away from the unconscious's message. Amplification, in contrast, works like a spiral that delves deeper and deeper into the symbol itself. Instead of asking, "What else does this remind me of?" we ask, "What is this?" The technique consists of circling the dream image, enriching it with parallels and echoes from various sources. Imagine you dreamed of a bronze key. The first layer of amplification is personal. What do key and bronze mean to me? Have I had a key like this? What does it open in my life? The second layer is cultural and objective amplification. You act like a researcher. What is a key, functionally? An object that opens what is closed, grants access, reveals secrets. What is bronze? An alloy of copper and tin, associated with the Bronze Age, with ancient weapons and artifacts. Less noble than gold, but more durable than iron. You begin to weave a web of meanings. The third and deepest layer is archetypal amplification. Where does the bronze key appear in mythology, religion, alchemy, or fairy tales? Keys are symbols of the god Janus, who opens the gates of the new year. They are St. Peter's keys to the kingdom of heaven. In alchemy, the key can represent the universal solvent that dissolves matter to reveal its essence. In fairy tales, it is the key that opens the forbidden room, revealing a terrible and necessary secret. By collecting all these resonances, you are not finding the answer. You are creating a semantic energy field around the symbol. The correct interpretation will emerge as an inner click, a feeling of recognition and aha moment when one of these amplifications resonates perfectly with the emotion of the dream and the context of your current life. Perhaps the bronze key is about accessing an ancient bronze and forgotten strength within you to unlock a new phase of your life key. Amplification is a process of honoring the image, treating it not as a hieroglyph to be translated, but as a sacred icon to be contemplated, allowing its multifaceted wisdom to reveal itself to you. Dreams are a theater, and the main actors are the archetypes. Archetypes are innate psychic structures, universal patterns of experience and behavior inherited in the collective unconscious. They are like dry riverbeds in the psyche, which personal experience fills with water, giving them life and form. In dreams, they appear as human or mythological figures that personify fundamental aspects of your being. The encounter with the shadow is usually the first and most crucial. The shadow is the other in us, our dark twin. It contains all the qualities, impulses, and emotions that our conscious mind rejects as incompatible with our idealized self-image. The persona is everything we consider bad, weak, or unacceptable: our anger, our envy, our greed, our repressed sexuality, but also, paradoxically, our unlived positive potentials, such as assertiveness in an overly passive person or creativity in a rigid individual. In dreams, the shadow often appears as a persecuting, threatening, or repulsive figure of the same sex as the dreamer. The task is not to destroy this figure, but to face it, dialogue with it, and integrate the energy it represents. The anima in a man and the animus in a woman represent the inner sexual counterpart. The anima is the personification of all feminine qualities in a man's psyche: relationship, intuition, creativity, emotion. In a man's dreams, she appears as various female figures, from an unknown seductress to a spiritual guide. The developmental stage of a man's anima reflects his ability to relate to the feminine, both internally his own emotions and externally real women. The animus is the personification of the masculine in a woman's psyche: logic, action, focused thought, spirit. In a woman's dreams, he can appear as an authoritarian and critical male figure, or as an inspiring and creative partner. The integration of the animus, anima, is what allows an individual to achieve psychic wholeness and maturity in relationships. Finally, the archetype of the wise old man or great mother personifies wisdom, insight, and transcendent knowledge. It appears in moments of crisis or confusion, offering advice, a magical object, or a map. In dreams, it can be a teacher, a guru, a wizard, or a priestess. This figure represents the self, the ordering center of the psyche, the totality we seek. Recognizing these actors in your dreams is like receiving a report on the state of your inner life, showing which aspects of yourself are being neglected, which need development, and from where help and wisdom can emerge. Life and society requires us to wear masks. Jung called this mask the persona, the Latin word for the mask worn by actors in ancient theater. Your persona is your public identity, the I you present to the world. It is your role as a good son, competent professional, spiritual person, or rebel. The persona is necessary for coexistence and social navigation, but the mortal danger to the soul is when we identify completely with it. When we believe that the mask is our true face. For every quality we choose to compose our persona, an opposite quality is banished to the dark basement of the psyche, the shadow. If your persona is that of a kind and peaceful person, your anger and aggression are thrown into the shadow. If your persona is strong and independent, your vulnerability and need for help are locked in the shadow. The problem is that this energy does not disappear. It accumulates, becomes more primitive, more autonomous, and more hungry for recognition. This is where nightmares are born. The nightmare is, most often, the return of the repressed. It is the shadow breaking down the basement door and invading the living room of your consciousness. The terrifying figure chasing you down a dark alley in the dream is often a personification of the very quality you most deny in yourself. The murderer may be your repressed anger. The formless monster may be your suffocated creativity. The pathetic and despicable figure may be your own denied vulnerability. The intensity of the fear you feel in the nightmare is directly proportional to the force with which you repress that aspect in your waking life. The content of the nightmare, therefore, is the most honest revelation of your hidden face. It shows you, without filters, what you are refusing to see. The natural tendency is to project this darkness onto others. We accuse the world of being aggressive, envious, or dishonest because it is easier to see our shadow reflected in the faces of others than to admit that it lives within us. Nightmares force us to internalize this projection. They say, look, the monster is not out there. It is in here. It is a part of you. Healing and growth do not come from killing the monster, but from turning to face it, asking what it wants, and finally, integrating its energy. By accepting your repressed aggression, you can transform it into healthy assertiveness. By accepting your vulnerability, you can develop the true strength of intimacy. Your nightmares are not a curse. They are a brutal but necessary call to wholeness. Many dreams, especially the longer, more vivid, and impactful ones, the so-called big dreams, are not just a collection of random symbols. They possess a dramatic structure, a narrative with a beginning, middle, and end. This structure often mirrors the universal monomyth described by Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey. Understanding this structure helps us see the dream not as a static image, but as a dynamic process of transformation that our dream ego, the I who stars in the dream, is undergoing. The journey usually begins with the exposition, where the setting and initial situation are presented. The dream ego is in its ordinary world, perhaps your home or workplace. Then, the inciting incident or the call to adventure occurs. Something unusual happens. A strange object appears, a mysterious person emerges, or the familiar setting suddenly becomes threatening. This is the moment when the unconscious introduces the problem, the conflict that needs to be faced. This is followed by the plot development, or the crossing of the threshold, where the dream ego leaves the known world and enters the special world, an unknown territory of the unconscious. Here, it faces a series of tests, allies, and enemies. It may encounter figures that help it, an animal guide, a wise old man offering advice, and figures that antagonize it, the shadow figure, a monster, an insurmountable obstacle. The climax of the narrative is the supreme ordeal, the inmost cave. This is the point of greatest tension in the dream, where the dream ego faces its greatest fear, confronts the shadow figure, or symbolically dies. It is the moment of the most intense nightmare, the chase, the battle. If the dream ego manages to overcome the ordeal, it receives the reward. It finds a treasure, acquires secret knowledge, rescues someone, often an aspect of itself, like the anima, animus, or undergoes a transformation. The final part of the dream is the road back and the resurrection, where the dream ego returns to the ordinary world, but now changed by the experience, bringing with it the elixir, the wisdom acquired. Analyzing your dreams through the lens of the hero's journey gives you a map to understand the psychological process you are living. It shows you what stage of your transformation you are in, what your main conflict is, the ordeal, what internal resources you possess, the allies, and what the goal of your inner journey is, the reward. It transforms you from a passive victim of your dreams into a hero actively engaged in the great adventure of your own individuation. A dream that repeats night after night, or that returns at intervals over years, is one of the most urgent forms of communication from the unconscious. It is like receiving the same letter stamped urgent every day. The content may vary slightly, but the central theme, emotion, and conflict remain the same. A recurring dream is evidence of an unresolved psychological complex, a knot of emotional energy that has not been untied and is blocking your development. The psyche, in its incessant search for balance, does not give up. If the message has not been understood, or, more often, if the conscious attitude has not changed in response to the message, the dream will be resent. The dream's insistence is a sign of its vital importance. The nature of the recurring dream gives us clues about the nature of the conflict. If you repeatedly dream that you are unprepared for an exam, this likely points to a performance complex in your waking life, a chronic fear of being judged, of not being good enough, of being a fraud, imposter syndrome. If the recurring dream is about being chased, it points to an aspect of yourself, the shadow, that you are desperately trying to avoid, but which continues to demand your attention. Dreaming of losing your teeth, a common recurring theme, may be linked to issues of power, communication, loss of vitality, or a major life transition. The key to working with a recurring dream is to recognize that the solution is never found within the dream. The cycle only breaks when a corresponding change is made in waking life. If the dream is about the exam, the task is to confront your fear of failure in real life. If it is about the chase, the task is to stop running, turn around symbolically, and face what is pursuing you. You must ask, what attitude in my life is causing this nightly scenario to repeat? Sometimes, the recurring dream stops abruptly. This usually happens when the underlying conflict has been resolved in life, even if unconsciously, or when the problem is no longer relevant. Other times, the recurring dream evolves. The scenario may be the same, but the ending changes. Perhaps in the chase dream, instead of just running, you find a hiding place, or you find a weapon to defend yourself, or, in the most advanced stage, you turn and talk to the pursuer. This evolution in the dream is an extremely positive sign. It indicates that psychological progress is occurring, your inner attitude is changing, and the psyche is registering this change. Paying attention to your recurring dreams is, therefore, one of the most effective ways to track your own progress on the journey of individuation. The analysis of a dream does not end with aha of interpretation. That is only the halfway point. Interpretation without integration is a sterile intellectual exercise. It is like reading a detailed treasure map and never taking the first step out of the house. Integration is the process of bringing the energy and wisdom of the dream into the body and into waking life, allowing it to catalyze real change. It is the alchemy that transforms the lead of understanding into the gold of transformation. There are several ways to practice integration. The first is through continuous dialogue and reflection. After arriving at an interpretation that resonates, spend time with it. Meditate on the message. Ask yourself, if this message is true, what does it demand of me? What small action can I take today to honor this truth? What attitude of mine needs to change? It is a process of slow digestion, allowing the insight to seep into your consciousness and begin to color your perceptions and decisions. A powerful Jungian technique for integration is active imagination. This is not passive fantasy. It is a conscious dialogue with the figures of the dream. In a meditative and relaxed state, you can revisit the dream scene and invite a dream character, especially a shadow or animus figure, into a dialogue. You ask a question and wait, without censorship, for the answer that emerges from your imagination. You can write down this dialogue. It is a way of continuing the conversation that the dream began, allowing these autonomous aspects of your psyche to express their perspectives and needs directly to your consciousness. The third path is creative expression. The unconscious speaks the language of images, not words. Therefore, responding in the same language is extremely powerful. Paint, draw, sculpt, or dance the central image of your dream. Create a piece of music that captures its emotion. Write a poem. This act of giving physical and artistic form to the dream's energy anchors it in the material world and allows you to relate to it in a new way. You are no longer just thinking about the dream, you are co-creating with it. Finally, the most crucial integration occurs through ethical and behavioral action. If your dreams insist that you are being dishonest with yourself in a relationship, the final integration is to have the difficult conversation you have been avoiding. If your dreams reveal a creative passion you have buried, integration is enrolling in that art class. It is the courageous step of aligning your outer life with the truth of your inner life, revealed by dreams. Without this final step, all dream work becomes a sophisticated form of self-deception, an excuse not to live. All the previous topics converge on a single great objective, the central concept of Jung's psychology, individuation. Individuation is the lifelong process by which a human being becomes who they truly are. It is not about becoming perfect, rich, or famous. It is about becoming oneself in one's unique and indivisible totality. It is the process of fully realizing the potential that was planted in your soul at birth, becoming a conscious and integrated expression of all that you are, your light, your darkness, your masculine, your feminine, your potential, and your limitations. In this epic process, the dream is not just a useful tool, it is the indispensable compass. The center of the psyche, which Jung called the self, is the innate totality that we strive to realize consciously. The self communicates with the ego, the center of our consciousness, primarily through dreams. Each dream, therefore, can be seen as a navigational instruction sent by the self. It shows us where we are stuck, where we are being one-sided, what the next aspect of our totality needs to be integrated, and what the next step on our journey is. Individuation is not a linear path, it is a spiral. We continually revisit the same themes: our relationship with the shadow, with the anima, animus, with the world, but with each turn, we do so from a higher level of consciousness. Your dreams will reflect this spiral journey. The symbols may change, the narratives may evolve, but the direction is always the same, towards greater wholeness. If in one phase of life your dreams were about fighting a monster, the shadow, in a later phase, they might be about dialoguing with it or even dancing with it. This indicates progress in the integration process. The ultimate goal is not the elimination of conflict, but the ability to hold the opposites within oneself, the so-called coniunctio oppositorum of the alchemists. It is being able to be strong and vulnerable, rational and intuitive, spiritual and earthy. Dreams, with their paradoxical and often illogical nature, are the perfect training ground for developing this ability to hold the tension of the opposites. By committing to dream work, you are actively engaging in your own process of soul-making. You are becoming a conscious co-creator of yourself in partnership with the deep wisdom of the self.